unified test.
Today, me, Marjan, and Akhnur made a report on assessing UNT. So today we'll talk about UNT itself, what kind of test is it, and also we'll talk about if it's valid, on the level of different validities that we already learned about. They are construct validity, content validity, criterion-related validity, and phase validity. So, as we know from the lecture, test is
Yes.
valid if it accurately measures what is intended to measure. So we should all of us should know this. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
And this validity is very important in order to make a valid test, in order to make it a reliable and practical test. So, as we know, this validity is closely conformed with its accuracy, content accuracy, the structure of the testing, the techniques of its, and practicality. In this report, we will discuss only about UNT test. So as we know, UNT it's Unified National Test, and it's known for its absolute total basic requirement, which is administered by the Republic of Kazakhstan to apply students of schools for higher education. And the young generation tries their best only at the end of high school, unfortunately, to explore all the covered topics of 11 years of study to apply to these universities. It seems pretty impossible to pass the test successfully um, in the condition of school, yes. But if the graduate score is high enough, it is praised by a scholarship. The question is it really impossible or just it's the cause of the low validity of the test?
So the first thing that we'll talk about is contract validity if UNT tests are valid in construct form. So first, here is the leaked test options of 2020 and 2022 years. For example, even this sample is leaked, so we can say that there are a lot of websites that has this leaked options of questions, and for 100% of the tests is multiple choice questioning, and sometimes there are fill in the gap questions, translations, when students need to translate something from Russian Kazakh to English, or vice versa from English to Russian or Kazakh, and also definitions of some words, text-based, odd one out, and reviewing questions. But sometimes when it comes to text-based, we can say that there might be questions that are not related to the text itself, and also reviewing questions, for example, asking what is the capital of Great Britain. I mean, the questions that has general knowledge that everyone knows the answer to this kind of
Mhm,
questions. For example, in this sample, we can see the second question, which is the letter A is read differently. So by this question, it's not valid to actually measure students' knowledge of pronunciation, since it's in the indirect testing, as we discussed before, and if we can't really know if the student knows the correct pronunciation of these words, since it's indirect testing. And when it comes to content validity, it includes all the topics, like the UNT itself includes different topics that are related to school program. For example, tenses, vocabulary, grammar, history, and etc. But sometimes it lacks medium English level grammar and vocabulary. So here is some examples of it that, for example, we can see that there are some questions related to vocabulary, the sixth one, and different questions that are related to grammar, for example, the 15th one, the synonyms finding, and others.
mhm.
So for example, here we can see this text, and that questions to this text are not like related to the to the text itself. For
Mhm,
example,
mhm,
21 and 22, like we need to find prepositions of place and possession, but there are no questions that are um, related to the text, to the text, I mean, to
to
the
the plot
text.
of the text, yes.
Yeah, and for
Mhm,
example, the content of the text. For example, if students read this text and they need to answer to the question that are related to it, but instead they just need to highlight the answer to
mhm,
like general questions about propositions. I mean, what kind of connection it has to this text. So we can see that
mhm,
this
mhm,
content like invalid, that low content validity in this text, in these questions. For example, another thing in this tense question. The answer for tense question is obvious and general. For example, here we can see the question. For example, we need to find like highlight the one city that says is known as one of the most educated cities in Canada, and there are some options, which is Ottawa, New York, London, Moscow, Washington D.C. And it's obvious that the only correct answer is Ottawa, since everybody know that New York, London, like Moscow, Washington are not in Canada, that it's cities of other countries. And students, they don't need to know English to answer to this question. Uh,
mhm, mhm,
so yeah, I mean, also I can say that we don't surely know that the test itself, like for example, one option of the test is measures all of the knowledge and topics that were conducted during the 11th years of school program. So that's why it's surely it's kind of, I would say, obvious that UNC is a low that UNC is low content validity, has low
mhm, mhm.
validity as well as low construct validity. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, as Marjan said, yes, that's right. It has very low content validity and construct validity, as well as criterion related validity. Can say that test results may be very reliable actually, because most of the students who pass UNT successfully, they manage and they show the good results in their education purposes of higher education buildings, yes, and yes, until to 2020, because um, until the 2020, the strictness, yes, the control of the testing was not enough strict. So even good scored students could get scholarships and vice versa. I mean, like even people who got good scores, they could lose their scholarships. But starting from 2020, as we know, it was very strict from the pandemic time. It becomes more, let's say, more authentic for students, for checking, yes, and in all aspects, it was very authentic. Then students became more, let's say, their results are more reliable. Then they shows most of the students show very good results in universities. Even we can see it in our university. Who passed successfully the UNT, they learn their subjects very, very successfully. So maybe it is not low, yes, not low in the
Mm.
predictive validity, but concurrent validity very low, as far as the IELTS, yes, the criteria of IELTS are completely different. Yes. And next, of course, as Marjan already said, It doesn't accurately measure the language abilities. Yes, it doesn't measure the language abilities of students, like real, genuine abilities. So, um, so this indirect proficiency test, yes, lacks certainly face validity, because there are infinite amounts of invalidity. It doesn't accurately measure the language abilities of the students, yes, through a branch mark test. And I would say that it can look like it's very reliable and valid for students of schools, but analyzing all the existing tests, we know that it's actually a low faced valid. Mhm.
Mhm.
Next.
So here are like some suggestion to change the whole system of UNT testing. So in the case of English language testing, it should start by correlating the content to the relevant topics, that are actually related to what students measured during the 11th years of school program, and also it should be suitable to the levels of the students, since by passing the 11th grade, mm, school like Kazakhstani school students have pre-intermediate level or
Mm,
intermediate, I guess intermediate,
mhm,
and I think that each like their language ability should be checked directly as much as possible. So like direct
mm.
testing is always like prioritized. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Maybe, as we know, as we passed before, yes, it was paper-based tests. But right now it's like computer-based tests. Like everything is checked by the computer, everything is passed through the computer. So it's very reliable, but not valid. Um, and how can we change? Yes, how can we change the whole system of tests, UNT tests? Of course, there is no clue about um, direct testing, because who is gonna check all students? Yes, all students, their writing skills, their speaking skills, but maybe the current development of technologies could help it. Yes, maybe in 15 years it can be easy. Yes, it might be very even like possible. So I think it's needed to change. Yes, and the test needs it's necessary to change not only the testing techniques, but the text structure itself. Yes,
Yes.
so not only about language, not only about English. And as I analyzed all the test subjects like physics, biology, mathematics, and Kazakh literature, the easiest one actually is English language.
Yes.
It's true, yes? What do you think? I think it's the easiest one. So um, we certainly should change some aspects of this testing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
So,
easy. Like it has a lot of general questions, like
mhm,
just answers questions, and that's why sometimes like students may pass the English like UNC English part, and as a result, they will like actually get in university that they desire to get into. And I think that it isn't reliable, so that's why like questions should be constructed more more suitable to their levels, and they should
mhm,
be more
mhm,
complex, so it can like it can actually be in that way that will check if they really know English and school program
mhm,
like, overall.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. So, thank you for your attention, teacher. And we hope that everything was all right, and we are waiting for your feedback.
Yes. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.